Hey folks, it's Keith, Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, also known as the Shaky Key. I always say for my Morse code abilities when I first started back the late 80s. Topic I have today is an interesting one. It was a letter I got from someone who had asked me a question on relearning Morse code, and that was Brian KC5YSM who had sent me the note, which I do. I get quite a few questions and notes like that coming off of videos. So in answering him, I thought, really, the answer I'm giving him can certainly make a video, because how many other people are out there thinking that maybe they would like to relearn Morse code? In other words, you're like me. You took it maybe, I don't know, late 70s, the 80s, the 90s, somewhere in there when Morse code was a requirement to get a license, even your most basic license. And you passed the exams, and then you never used it. I look at myself. I passed in 1990. I think it was 12 words a minute. Made 3 contacts and didn't use it right up until about, I think it was 2021, when I decided, okay, maybe it's time to go back and relearn Morse code. So the type of people who are doing this now, this huge influx of people learning Morse code, well, a large number of you are seniors, right? You got the white hair or no hair or whatever on top, and you're coming at learning something that you had studied many, many, many years ago. So what are you facing when you come back? Because that's going to affect your decision. And a large part of that will be the impact as to whether or not you will continue once you start. Because Morse code can be very intimidating. But everybody can do it. Everybody can get through it. Everybody learns at a different pace. So your buddy might get through, the basic program and get on the air, and who knows, 4 months. Might take you 6 months, might take you a year. It doesn't make any difference. The goal, really, for all of us seniors, is to get on the air and above all, have fun. So yes, you have a journey, as I call it, a Morse code journey to get to that point. It will be tough. There will be points where you're really super frustrated, but if you keep at it, you're going to get on the air. And that reward when you're out there now communicating with other people in Morse code, that is just a phenomenal feeling. So when I look at my classes, and yes, full disclosure, I do teach one of the level 1 or beginner 1 classes for the Long Island CW Club. Most of my classes, because my class time is in the morning, most of my classes are seniors. Right? The vast majority, I would say 80% of the people are seniors. So this is really who this video is looking at. Those of you, not so much who are back, although probably there's information in here that will help you. But for those of you thinking, I'm retired now, I have more time. Maybe I should go back and retake Morse code. Gives me more options. I can do different parts on the air and so on. So this is what we're looking at. And this is the group, if you want, of people that this particular video is looking at. So whether you took Morse code, passed, or you took Morse code and failed, this video is probably aimed at you, especially for those of you who took it 20, 30 years ago or whatever the case might be. In my case, I think it was 32 years or something. So let's take a look and see what you're facing. So I guess the first point I want to make is not going to be easy. I got into that trap of thinking, okay, yeah, I took it, I passed it, I could do 12 words per minute. Oh, this will just be a quick refresher course, right? I know it. I know it's all there in the back of my mind, wrapped in my brain somewhere. All I got to do is, spend a bit of time and it will all come back to me. No, it doesn't. It's basically like starting over. All right. And that's the best way I can say to it. You are starting over. However you were taught, forget that, because the methods that we were taught have all changed. Things that were Sort of, the gospel back then, you have to do it this way if you want to learn. Most of that isn't taught anymore. So the first thing, realize you are basically starting from scratch. And yes, there are certain words, certain letters that you had used years ago that will come back to you. Maybe the letters in your call sign, maybe I don't know, your name. Certain letters that you really knew back then will come back to you, but an awful lot of it's going to be brand new. And like I say, the teaching methods are brand new. Everything today is on the internet, right? You're using programs, computer programs, or using apps on your phone, whatever the case might be. When we took Morse code, in some cases, computers hadn't even been invented yet. Certainly, there was no such thing as the internet for many of us. Different way of learning, different approach to it. No memorizing. None of this word association with letters. None of that. It's all gone. Now it's by sound, acoustic sound. Hearing the sound of that letter coming through, that Morse code, the dits and the das coming through, and being able to recognize instantly what the letter is. So let's dig a little deeper into some of this, and we'll see. Maybe you'll find it interesting. Maybe it will sort of tweak your attention, and you'll say, okay, I'll give it a shot. So let's get going. Understand that your Morse code journey requires a certain degree of discipline, right? It's not just something you can fluff off and, yeah, I'll do a few minutes today, a few minutes tomorrow, and yeah, we're all good. No, it requires consistency and discipline. So you need to target, a minimum of roughly 30 minutes a day. I wouldn't say do 2-3 hours. So 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day, ideally every day. And yes, life gets in the way, certainly when you're older and your grandparents and who knows what. Life does get in the way. We all understand that. But you try to be as consistent as you can. You try and put practice time in that you can. And that's going to be absolutely key on this part of your Morse code journey. It's having the discipline to sit down every day, even the days when you don't feel like doing it, and doing your Morse code practice. Now, 30 minutes a day, most of us can find the time to do that. 45 minutes a day, if you want to listen to some real live Morse code on the air, yeah, we can find time to fit that into our schedules. And yes, seniors have very busy lives, very busy schedules. I would never have thought that myself, but I can tell you the minutes of my days get eaten up very quickly, and yours will too. So plan, like I say, 30 minutes a day, if at all possible, of practice. And keep your goal simple. Keep your goal just to get on the air. Don't set, at least in my opinion, don't set a speed goal right now. Don't get hung up on, oh, I've got to be, 20 words per minute, 15 words per minute. That can be self-defeating because you can frustrate yourself, especially in the early days. Simply make your goal to get on the air by, who knows, 6 months, 8 months down the road. Pick a date. In my case, when I was doing it, I started in, I think it was the December of 2021, and that was not taking formal classes. That was using one of the websites out there. And I did that for a year, and then in December 2022, for some reason, I do things in December. In December 2022, I said, okay, let's get busy here. Let's get some instruction. So it's not going to be a quick journey. What I ended up doing was planning basically from the January, and I said in Canada's case, July the 1st is our big day, like the American 4th of July. I said, I want to be on the air on July the 1st. So I gave myself that amount of time. But if you consider, I'd spent a lot of time prior to that taking Morse code. So 6 months would have been my minimum, probably closer to, I don't know, a year and a half maybe. And a lot of that was wasted time, I will say, wasting time doing it on my own. But however you do it, pick a date. Now, in my case, up behind my computer where I do my practice, I put a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with great big letters on it, which said on the air July the 1st. So that was my target. And every time I sat down at my computer, I could see it. Every time I sat down, I said, I don't feel like practicing today. It was staring at me. So more times than not, I would sit down and do some practice, if not the entire 30 minutes. I would certainly put 10, 15, 20 minutes of practice in. So keep your goal simple. Don't worry about speed. Speed will come. It's about having fun. Don't get hung up on how fast you are. You can talk to people in Morse code anywhere from 8 words per minute and up. So there's lots of people at the slower speeds. So, it's nice if you have a speed goal, but at the beginning when you're relearning everything and you're essentially starting over, yeah, don't worry about that at this particular point in time. Another thing to remember is that you can't overstudy the alphabet. And by the alphabet, I'm also including the numbers in there. The tendency when you get back is you super keen. So that first, I don't know, maybe the first half of the alphabet, boy, you just go great guns. You really focus on it. You're in there practicing every day. Those letters, by the time you're finished, they are just bang, 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 I got them. Then it starts to get a little boring. So what happens? Well, yeah, we'll do my letters today. But you're not putting all the time and all that effort in. Well, guess what? When you're on the air, guess which letters are going to bite you? The ones that you didn't put all that time on. So whatever you do, every letter, every number deserves the same attention, the same focus. Because down the road, months later, when you're actually on the air and someone's sending you their call sign, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't spend that much time learning my numbers. I sort of rushed through it. So everything you do deserves your attention, full attention, as you go through, because down the road, it makes life a lot easier. So you can't overstudy the alphabet. You've got to put your time in. Now, as you research how you're going to proceed, once you've made up the mind, yes, I'm going to go back and relearn Morse code, there's certain things that you're going to have to consider or look at. One is what organization, what club, how are you going to do this? Are you just going to do it on your own? There are some pretty good apps out there. There's actually one particular website that a lot of people use that I used, and I have to say, for some people, it's going to work really well. For me, it was so-so. I did fairly well on it, but I found classroom structure a little bit better. It's up to you how you proceed. So do your homework, do your research, look at the groups. Now, keep in mind that the clubs, the big organizations that teach Morse code, which are out there, which you'll find pretty fast. There's also hundreds and hundreds of local ham radio clubs that give Morse code courses and so on. There's all sorts of areas that you can look at, and you're going to find someone teaching Morse code. So I would say to you, these people have put thousands and thousands of hours into developing their program, maybe developing the practice page, the websites they use, and so on. So they have a technique that they've developed, they've put the time in, and that they're pretty damn proud of because they know it works. And they've put a lot of people through those programs, and they know it works. So whichever program you're looking at, start from the premise, yes, it's going to work if I put the time and consistent practice in. Don't become a professional student. These are the people who, I'm probably an offender in that. You try this app for a while and yeah, it goes pretty good. And then you hit a little bit of a stumbling block or you get bored and I don't like this program. Let's find a better program. And you go and you find another one and you do that for, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 months. And then, yeah, I'm getting stuck on stuff. It's got to be the program. It can't be me. So you switch and you do another one. Whatever program you start with, try and stick it out all the way through, because that program, as I said, it's taken someone or a club or a group of individuals probably thousands of hours to get that program exactly the way it is. They know it works. So I say ignore the hype, ignore anyone that says we are the only way, because They might be the only way for some people. Doesn't necessarily mean that the way you learn matches that program. I would also say contact them. Find out exactly, check their websites out. Find out what tools they use, because that's going to be an important consideration in the beginning. Down the road, it's probably not going to make that much of a deal. But at the beginning, some will say you have to use a paddle. Some will say you have to use a straight key. Some don't care. You can use either. That is one of the choices that you need to make. And it's a key one to make at the beginning. Now, in my case, I use a straight key. I love a straight key. It's as simple as that. I have a paddle somewhere in my house. Don't ask me where, because I know it's there somewhere. But other people have learned on a paddle, absolutely love a paddle. So you have to decide which way you want to go. In many cases, it may be determined by what's in that big box of ham radio stuff that you stuffed away somewhere in your basement. Maybe you have a paddle. Maybe you have a straight key. So you've already found out the basic tool you're going to start with, because you're not going to go out and spend a couple $100 on something brand new when you don't know if you're even going to continue with the course. So like I say, ignore the hype. Everybody out there can get you on the air. You pick the organization that you are comfortable with, that welcomes you. Pick the organization that maybe is using the tools that you want to use, and then stick it out. Dig in. Take the course. Don't break off and go here, shopping around looking for other courses or other tools or other apps, because the one you're using has probably got a lot of people on the air. And, certainly certain courses, some people learn better. If you're musical, as an example, you will find Morse code probably easier to learn than someone who, like me, is essentially tone deaf. All right, so those are the things that you're going to look at. Another issue for most of you, and actually thinking of that tone deaf, another issue that is really important for those of you who are seniors is your hearing. Now, a lot of us, males in particular, don't like to admit that our hearing isn't quite what it was when we were in our 20s. For some of us, like myself, it was pretty obvious. My family reminded me constantly. So, if you can get a hearing test, get one done. As we get older, we lose certain tones, those higher tones, we lose them. So in some cases, depending on the settings on your computer, it may not be the best setting for you. So I do have a video, which you can find, where I talk about adjusting the tone on your computer and on your radio into what's best for your ears. So check that one out. It's particularly for seniors. We do lose those higher frequencies. You will find most computers and that for you to hear the best Morse code at is probably somewhere that 550 to 580 range. All right, and which same when you do when you set your radio up as well. I mean, you can adjust it there as well. So those are a couple of the little things to think about. There's obviously a lot more, but whatever course you take, there's no guarantee if you don't put the time in. So the onus is going to be on you. It's not on the course. It's not on your instructor. And I guess the other issue that I think I find pops up a fair amount of times, certainly after videos or just when chatting with people. Don't make the classic mistake of thinking character speed is word speed. These are two different things, very, very different things. All right, so your character speed can be whatever, your word speed can be whatever. So some call it the Farnsworth speed. Call it whatever you want. Effective speed, the actual speed you would be sending or receiving on the air versus how fast you're hearing the characters. And yes, right now there's a huge debate over, what character speed is the best speed. Don't get caught up in it. All right. Those are the things that you can do once you're on the air, and you can play with it. If you're taking a particular program, use that program, whatever that program tells you to do, because as I said, they get you on the air. And that's all you need to worry about at this point. Whichever process or program that you decide to follow, understand there will be days when you're just going to be totally frustrated. Things just aren't coming together. Stop and think, what's my day been like? Have I had a rough day? For those that are still working, did I have a crappy day at work and now I'm at home trying to study? There's different factors that will impact how you learn on that particular day. It's always best to do it with a clear head, and when you're in a good mood, Morse code seems to flow a little bit better that way. So there are techniques that you will learn. Whichever organization is teaching you will teach you various techniques to practice at home on your own. Put the practice time in. Absolutely essential. If part of your practice is sending Morse code, which it should be, you should be practicing, get your smartphone out, hit the voice memo button, record yourself. It's always nice to hear what you sound like. Keep that recording, because that's going to be your base mark. And as you go forward, keep going back and listening to that one while you record wherever you're at now. And I think what you will find is, in very short order, you're sounding a lot better. All right, so your organizations will teach you, but at the same point, when it comes to sending, because you're just sending at home, there's no one really listening to you. Record yourself, become your own critic. Could you copy what you sent, and so on. So on the days when you're frustrated, maybe those are the days you cut your practice a little bit short that day. Or maybe if you're doing your practice in the morning and it's not working very well for you, you've got time to shut things down, come back in the afternoon. And you may find with a different mindset, or whatever the case may be, less distractions for what's going on around you. Suddenly the Morse code is interesting again. And don't think just because you are doing a computer program, that you shouldn't listen to your radio. Check around. I've got videos on where to find people sending slow speed Morse code. There's several of them, actually. Learn to listen to real Morse code on the air, even if you're just beginning. The POTA stations, Parks on the Air, probably a place that a lot of people start. For one, that's why they're maybe taking Morse code. But the POTA app page, the POTA.app page, that one will give you in many cases, not only their frequency, so it's easy to find them, but their word speed. So find someone who's a little slower and listen, because you need to train your ear to listen to pulling dits and daws out of all that noise and confusion that sometimes is on the pans. And don't be afraid if you're in the lower speed range of listening to someone higher up, because you're going to have to do that eventually anyways. And your goal should not be just to get frustrated or just to listen to it blur by you. Your goal should be to pick out the letters that you know. If you only know 3 letters, as an example, tune in a POTA station. How often do you hear those 3 letters? Because you also have to learning Morse code is learning to miss letters. And not get hung up sitting there like I do sometimes. Oh yeah, was that a J or a W? And the guy keeps sending. So those are habits that you have to break. So it's nice if you can do that right at the beginning. But I think when the bottom line to all of this is that every single one of you who's sitting there thinking, so I go back and retake that horrible Morse code. I hated it way back when. Come in with a fresh view. It's going to be so different now to start with. And the teaching instructions and the tools you use, the computer programs, are going to be so different that it's like you are starting over. So that all that negativity that you had way back when, put it aside. You're probably not going to have it. And I'm one of those. One of the reasons I did not come back to Morse code over all those years was I dreaded going through all that stuff and the way I was taught back then, which in my case was memorizing. memorizing, dits and dahs and, what letter is that and so on. And I really didn't want to do that. So when I came back, I was pleasantly surprised. And part of the surprise came from doing my homework, which is what I keep telling everyone, do your homework. Listening to the videos various groups put out, various organizations, listening to what they tell you. Do your research. Look at YouTube, not so much my videos, but the videos put out by these organizations that are teaching. Find one that makes sense to you. Contact them. See what is their approach. When do they teach their classes? How do they teach their classes? And so on. Find something that works for you, because I'll tell you right now, having gone through it and relearned it, like I keep telling all of you, I relearned it. It is so much fun when you're on the air. It's you start in, and that first 5, 10, 20 contacts are always nerve-wracking, but once you're out there and you're doing it and you're having fun, maybe in a park, maybe in a contest, maybe just rag chewing with someone, it's a whole new world that is opened up for you, and it's a lot of fun. So I encourage you all, if you are at that stage where you're thinking about, do I go back and relearn this stuff? From me, it's most definite yes. I think you have a wonderful future ahead and a lot of fun, many years of fun ahead of you, if you take that step and go back and relearn Morse code. It's Keith. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. I hope it helps you make up your mind as to what you want to do. And if you do decide to contact an organization or go for it, hey, tell them the Shaky Key or VE3SVQ sent you. It's always fun to know that people are following up on some of the information I give out in the video. And yes, you can always email me. Email is in the QRZ. There's no problem there. I always take questions. I also help a lot of people make their first contact on the air. It's something I enjoy doing too. So it's Keith, 73, from Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor, Quebec, the Shaky Key. Good luck on your CW journey.